Welcome to the Stash Cast, where innovation meets real estate. Let's dive in.
Stash.
Hey, John, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Perfect.
I see. Yeah, on the thing.
I'm going to rename you.
Yeah. Can you rename me? John Reilly. That's a good name. Let's use that one. Let's do it with two L's, right? Eilly. Do that.
Sorry.
Yeah. Reilly.
My bad.
That's all right. That is the phonetic spelling. That's where most of the O'Reillys, and they came through Ellis Island. That's how their name got spelled.
How's that look?
And that's actually how that started. There was never a Reilly, an R-I-L-E-Y in Ireland, ever. It was R-E-I-L-L-Y, which comes from O'Reilly, which comes from O'Regale, which is the Gaelic pronunciation. Because O'Regale meant we made sons of Regalek, who was a king.
Oh, interesting.
The O'Reillys were kings of Breffni. They were the ruling family for all of East Breffni for thousands of years, right up until 1706.
I never knew that. I had friends growing up.
I'm descended from royalty. Are you kidding me? I've got great-great-great-grandfathers that ran kingdoms and killed thousands of people in wars and fighting. And
meeting you, knowing you, I believe it.
One of the great was Philip O'Regale, which was Philip O'Reilly. And there was a John A. Reilly back then who was a lot more like sophisticated than the rest. He actually went to England and studied in England and learned a lot in England. Now, the English were the arch enemy of English, but he went there and learned the language, how to speak true English. And he came back and he was king for a while, but he wasn't a good negotiator. They basically got everything from him. And then after John died, Philip stepped in and Philip got stuff back. But then he died and Aemon, the other brother, Aemon, stepped in. But the English just ate him alive.
Yeah.
They could show up with 8,000 troops against 600 men. I know the whole history going back to like the 8th century. You know,
that's interesting. My dad recently passed, and that's got me curious about my own legacy and heritage. So trying to figure it out.
It's quite amazing when you look into it. It's back to,
and maybe I think we're just going to roll right now. But like, how did you figure it out?
We have a coat of arms, and my son had looked that up.
Okay.
And there's a story about the coat of arms and the O'Reilly coat of arms.
The Stash Cast is brought to you by Needle. What if you could use data and analytics to predict real estate transactions? With Needle, you can. Check it out at needle.us to learn more.
And then there's writers in Ireland who wrote up all the histories of the various families. And so through that, and going back in my family, like, there was Breffni, which is the top strip. You look at Ulster, Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
The strip just below Northern Ireland down to what they call the Pale. You have Dublin, and then you have the Pale. It goes to the entire stretch of Ireland from east to west. That land, right from the beginning, going back thousands of years, was shared by the O'Rourkes and the O'Reillys. Now, their Gaelic names were like O'Regalic, and O'Rourke was something or other, but it's the same family. And they fought each other for thousands of years, centuries after century. And then finally, they divvied it up. Finally, they got to a truce where O'Rourke's took West Breffni and the O'Reillys took East Breffni with a port over to England, which was Isle of Man was right off of there. And then we get to England. So the Reillys won that deal. But then you had all these other families north of, you had the Tyrone or O'Tyrone, which was north, and then these other families to the south, and they would fight and grab land and go back and forth. But the O'Reillys were always the kings of East Breffni until the English took over and turned it into County Cavan. I picked up some of that stuff because I have a shirt coming in today which is the O'Reilly name with the coat of arms. And in the coat of arms, it's 2 lions on each side with a hand with blood dripping from it. And the story is that there were Reilly brothers who the king said, all right, there's this land that we have somewhere. It was like really lots of land, like 1,000, 10,000 hectares of land or whatever it was. And he said, we're going to have a race, and whoever can get there first gets the land between the brothers. So what happened is the brother started running, and one brother was behind, started to slip behind. So what he realized that he was in throwing distance with something. So what he did is he cut off his hand, because the deal was whoever body part, any body part can get and touch that land first gets the land. So he cut off his hand, took his hand and drew it and got to the land first. Yeah, it's a true story.
Wow.
And that became the coat of arms ever after.
It's one on a technicality.
Now, what happens is, too, when you read all that stuff and you learn all that stuff, I'm sorry, you have to raise the bar in your life, and you have a whole other standard you've got to live up to.
Yeah.
If you didn't know about it, you could do your life any way you want. You just be happy. But now when you know all that with your ancestors, okay, I got to do my part.
Yeah.
It makes you feel that way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's what's the stock of people that I've come from, and
right.
They obviously fought the good fight to get me to here.
Oh, I mean, what they did in their lives, all of them, from the 8th century all the way through to 1706. What's interesting is that the 2 families that were dominant in East Breffni, so the O'Reillys were the kings, but the other family were the O'Bradys or the Bradys.
Mm.
And my grandfather, so now my father was born in 1910.
Okay.
And he died in 1979. When he was born, my grandfather, he was the 10th child. He was the youngest child.
Wow.
So my grandfather must have been 35, somewhere around that age, 35, for him to be, because they start families early. And I figure a year or 2 in between somehow, but he was the 10th.
Yeah.
Or he might have been the 9th. My Aunt Tess, I think, was the 10th. So he was the 9th child. And so let's say my grandfather was about 35. So from 1910, that means he was born in 1875. And in 1875, then he got married, probably was about 18. They get married young. And who did he marry? He married Bridget O'Brady. So you have the O'Reilly and the Brady right there in my family, right up in the 19th century. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it goes all the way back till the 8th century, and it was the Reillys and the Bradys.
Huh.
The 2 clans ruled. It was mostly the Reillys, but the Bradys were the next dominant family. And so there it is, my grandfather and my grandmother, O'Reilly and O'Brady, on a farm in county cabins. That's part of that land that came all the way through. England stole over 500,000 acres.
Right.
From the Reilly family.
It's just a staggering amount of land to even try and think about and conceptualize.
Yeah, and they took it illegally. It's not legal. You can't just take people's land.
They used to.
They created all kinds of things, but if we looked at it in today's law, that we would say, no, that's not legal. So, there's a castle there, too. There's a castle that we had, too, in Cavan. There's a beautiful castle. And what they're doing now, even today, they've got a group called O'Reilly, the Crown Castle of O'Reilly.com or something like that. Crown Castle of O'Reilly.com. And it's like a nonprofit movement to restore the castle.
Huh. That's great.
Yeah. And there's pictures of it on YouTube. They got full aerial photos of it.
I'm going to look it up after this.
Yeah. Very interesting.
That was a heck of an intro. I Appreciate you being here. We had a chance to catch, what was it, yesterday or the day before?
No, it was a couple of days ago. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
couple days ago. Losing track of time, but really appreciate you being here and sharing what you're working on. So
Sure.
for the folks at home and listeners, why don't you give us an idea of who you are and what you do, and then we'll roll from there.
Sure. As I was saying, my name is John Reilly, and I was born and raised in New York City, in the Lower East Side of New York. I ultimately went to Northeastern University, but first I went to school to get a degree in Chinese medicine.
Wow.
Because I was very interested in my high school in Chinese philosophy, especially Lao Tzu. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step.
Yeah.
Breaks it down for you, step at
Right.
And that hit me. And I read all of his works, and it was different for me. His works, you could spend 20 minutes on one page. It's very different than any other kind of reading. You're not reading for intellectual content. You read and you have an experience. That difference for me. I said, this is really amazing. What is this about? And then I learned about Chinese thought, the 5 elements theory, and how they work everything around the 5 elements theory, and then Chinese medicine. And then so I got interested, and I wanted to be a true healer. And so I went into doing that, and I spent several years getting my master's degree in traditional Chinese medicine. That master's degree was from the New England School of Acupuncture, which is now part of the Massachusetts School of Pharmacy and Health Sciences in Boston, Massachusetts. And so I practiced in Newport, Rhode Island for 3 years and met some pretty high-profile people. I had very good results with lots of very difficult diseases with Chinese medicine. And after about 3 years, I had a sort of a Forrest Gump moment. I woke up, you know what? This has been great. I don't want to do it anymore. I want to do something that's a lot more in the center of commerce and right in the middle of where the world meets life. Okay.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be finance. So I wound up getting a position at a company that was like a wealth management company. They did financial planning and securities trading and investment banking. I got all my certifications, and then I went back to school to Northeastern University and got my degree in finance with a minor in technology. And I graduated summa cum laude, and then went on from there to basically start my own firm after a couple of years. And I did that for a good 7 years. And then I sold that company, and then I went into investment banking, and I was involved with a number of major firms. I started my career with Integrated Resources in the early 80s, and then went on to work with a number of Alliance Capital, which became Alliance Bernstein, and a bunch of Prudential. I was a banker at Prudential, and then wound up my career at West Park Capital. Actually, I came out from the East Coast to the West Coast in around 2011, 2012. I joined a company called West Park Capital, where I was a managing director, and was there for 7 years. And then right around just before the pandemic, I decided to take a look at going back to school. Actually, I got my MBA then, started in 2021, got my MBA from the Jack Welch Management Institute. I got my leadership MBA, and then I got my operations management MBA. And I finished that in December of 2024, just last year. And
congratulations.
Thank you. But in 2021, I joined a company called Del Morgan and Company as a senior managing director. And then right around a year later, August of 2022, in 2022, I had so much time in investment banking and dealing with lots of different companies and deals. I now wanted to do something that was a little bit more. I wanted to be in the company. I wanted to find an opportunity where I could be the CEO or part of a team or whatever. And what happened is a company called Pangea Inc. was brought to my attention through an investment banker who was trying to raise money for the company, and he couldn't do it. And he knew my reputation. So he called me and said, hey, would you take a look at this deal and tell me what's wrong? What are we doing wrong? So I said, yeah, send me the due diligence file. which I then evaluated, and I saw what was going wrong. And I said, you need to restructure this, and it's going to take some time. He said, why don't you get on a call with the two owners? So I met the two owners then on a Zoom call, and I went through the whole thing with them. And they said, look, could you do this for us? Could you do this whole restructuring? I said, sure. You got to pay my consulting fee, and I will then do the restructuring. So they paid. I came in. It took me about 2.5 months to do this whole restructuring. And then I said to them, look, okay, you're the CEO, you're the COO, and you're the marketing person. And here's your marching orders. The CEO turns to me and says, I can't be CEO, John. I'm already CEO over this other company, and I have another apartment business over here where I'm CEO, or I run it. And I just don't have the bandwidth. And I said, this isn't going to work without you as the CEO. And he said, we were thinking you would be CEO. And I said, me? All right, let me think about that. And as I thought about it, I had put it all together. I'd restructured it, and I realized there is there, but it's going to take some time and effort to do it. So I said, okay, as long as I can be the CEO that has total control over operations on everything from strategy to hiring and firing and all the issues of how the business operates, I said, I need 100% sole authority on that. No one else can. You love to hear your input, but I choose and I decide at the end of the day. And if we can work that out, they said, yes, absolutely. We're good with that. So then I became CEO of Pagea in August of 2022. And that has been quite a ride, because what I got was a basic thing that they had put together. And as I got into it, I realized there's more to it. And then right around the beginning of 2023, what hits, let's call it the business world, is generative AI.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden AI is coming into play. We're looking at that. And I said, no, we've got to really step up our game. We've got to go all in on AI. We got to become an AI first shop. So in doing that, that's a whole nother learning curve. And then I brought in a outside vendor and their CEO, who at Kumbot, who's our AI officer now, still has his company, but he's been working with us for the last 2 or 3 years. And so Abhishek had an AI company in India, and we started working with him to format now all of our stuff related to what we wanted to do with AI. Now with AI, we could do much more capability and many more things. For instance, our AI listing generator now, which takes media data, or takes listing data, that's listing data of an apartment, and media data like photographs. And typically people then would get that information, and then they would have to write up a description, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment, northwest view, blah, 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 blah. It's in a nice area, whatever. And humans are not very good at that, especially clerical humans, because these are not copywriters. These are people who don't even like to do that. So that's why you see most of the ads on apartments.com and Zillow and these other internet listing services. They're very poorly written. They don't really give you much insight into what you're looking at. So what we saw was we could now use generative AI to write those descriptions if we had enough data in our large language model and our specialized language models to do that. So here's another opportunity to eliminate, let's call it an inferior service, and maximize it with more data and have it integrate all of the elements of the neighborhood and the environment, which no human can really do. Nobody can really tell you everything about the edge. So what we did is we not only did that, but we got into another level where we could now, with AI, we could customize it in real time. So for instance, when we publish the ad up to the internet listing service and someone clicks on that, right in the beginning, we ask them, hey, could you tell us a little bit more about you? Are you a single person? Are you a married couple with or without children? Are they young children or approximate ages? And then are you a retired couple? And so on. There's about 7 or 8 choices. And as soon as you check that box, the AI goes back and reformulates that description to meet all of the lifestyle needs that you would generally have for that status of life. So for instance, let's say a young couple with children in school, they're going to be in elementary school, they're going to be in middle school, or they're going to be in high school. So in that, we would then have a description about the major schools in the area. So this is a great place to live, and you're only like half a mile away from St. Mary's Elementary School and the PS 72 public school. So we would have now very specific descriptions related to lifestyle needs. Not only that, then our AI would also clean the photos, and we would stage the photos. So you would never see an empty room again. You would now see a room that an AI would look at it and determine what is the optimal interior design for that particular room, and then put in the furniture so that now you see it like you would be living in it as opposed to an empty room. And then not only that, but we integrate all that and then automatically publish that to the internet listing service of our client's choice. Some like to use only apartments.com. Some use Zillow, apartments.com, and realtor.com, and so on. That's their choice. But we then do all that automatically. So right there, from taking the listing data and integrating that with the media data, utilizing the AI to bring in relevant neighborhood and community information, and then writing up that description in a very poetic, persuasive manner, and then publishing that up to the internet listing service. That is one module of what we do. Okay.
Wow.
That's one.
That's a whole enterprise in and
That's
of
right.
itself.
We have 8 or 9 modules, which now when someone clicks on that, when they come into our system, our conversational AI will automatically connect, either whether it's on the phone or whether it's in an email, a text message, or even web chat. It will immediately connect when someone comes in and start the conversation around what the apartment that they're that they're interested in, and then take them through any kind of conversation that they want to have. They ask about, I like to go to the gym in the morning, what's close by. It will be able to tell you what the gyms are in the area, be able to tell you the education, it'll be able to tell you the hospital, be able to tell you all about transportation. Any question you have. And what I like to say, guy is stressed out. He's in San Francisco. He's got to move to New York. He just got the position. He goes out. He comes home. He's half drunk. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, and he's got to get this done. He calls in. Typically, there's nobody here today. Nobody in any company is going to be there at 3 a.m. Please leave a message, and they won't get back to you for 3 days. But in this case, calls in at 3 a.m., half drunk, and says, look, I need this apartment, 307. I just checked on it. And the AI comes in and says, sure, Mr. Thomas, what can I help you with? What would you like to know? Look, I've got to move in on July 25th because I've got to be there a week ahead and we got to have the place and all of that. Let me check. Yes, we can get you in on July 25th. Oh, that's great. So tell me, what about the schools? And when do I have to register? It'll tell you when you have to register. I'll get you all the information. We'll send it to you. Just give me your email and your address. We'll send it to you. So now what happens, the connection happens. And as long as you want to stay on the phone and talk to that, they never lose patience and they never miss a beat on information. As a matter of fact, if all of a sudden you said, oh, wait a minute, I got to call you back, and you hang up, and 3 days later you call back, the conversational AI will say, hi, Mr. Thomas, how are you? Would you like to continue our conversation? It remembers everything that was said. And you can even say, wait, I forget, what were we talking about before I had to hang up? Mr. Thomas, you were asking me about the education for your young boy, Thomas, and I was about to explain to you what those options would be, and that's when you said you had to go. Think about that. So
phenomenal.
Total memory. Now what happens, it takes you through, and it will say all the questions are answered. Mr. Thomas, can I show you, I'd like to take you through a 3D virtual tour. So now from the photos that you saw, now we're going to give you the full 3D tour. And that 3D tour is fully staged, okay, digitally.
Yeah.
So we do the 3D tour, we stage it, and then we have our AI take them through it and describe every part of the room and where it is in the building, where it is. Basically, it's a northwest view. It's overlooking Vine Street in Grant. And if somebody asked the question, where would be the closest Whole Foods? Because that's where we shop. Oh, Whole Foods is going to be 3 blocks away on Smith Street. And it will give you a little diagram. There it is. Oh, good to know. And so now what happens is they get the 3D tour. They say, look, I really like the apartment. Now what our AI is going to say, look, demand has been picking up recently for these apartments. I'd like to get you over to a tenant application so we can get this locked in for you. Would you like to proceed? Yes, put me through the tenant application. So now what happens, we have the AI that is let's call it, we call him Joffrey internally. Joffrey is that internal AI. Now, Joffrey says to the client, he says, look, I'm going to turn you over to Padsy, who's our tenant application specialist. And then he goes over to Padsy, and Padsy goes, hi, my name is Padsy. How are you, Mr. Thomas? Okay, I can take you through the application process. Okay, yeah, we have all your data that you gave us so far. We just have to fill in some things here. And then I'll do a real-time credit check and a background check. And if that proves to be good, then we can go to the lease contract.
Next phase.
Lease agreement.
Yeah.
And by the way, when you were talking with Joffrey, did he tell you that I wasn't too smart? Yeah, I'm going to bring his neck. Anyway, that's my business. I'll take care of that later. And so it's going to be a little like funny. It's going to be, you're going to have this little kind of make it a more reality. So things like that. And then taking through the application, doing the credit check, the background check, and then taking over to the smart contract. So now what happens is the agreement comes up, smart contract, and a summary of it is there. And we can say, look, you have an option to get out of this in 7 days or 10 days or whatever. I suggest we sign it now. You can look at it later. If you didn't like it, we can redo it. We can change it. We can cancel it. But I want you to get you into the apartment because this way you can sign the contract, sign the lease agreement electronically, and then we'll take 1 month's payment now to lock in your apartment. And then I'll turn you over to the move-in agent who will get you your move-in date and all of the details and will help you even if you don't have the moving company. We have moving companies. They'll give you discounts and all of that. So the process goes straight through right to the move-in. The only time we need humans is when they interrupt and say, I really want to talk to a human, or when they say, I love the 3D tour, but my wife and I, we have to see it in person. Then you have to set up the appointment. But a lot of people, because they're under pressure and they really don't like doing this stuff anyway, when they find somebody that gives them everything that they need and they have options to get out if they need to get out of the contract or whatever, they'll go forward with it. They'll put it together and it'll be done. And then what we have is our maintenance. We also, along with this comes rent collection and a tenant portal. And if you have a problem with your apartment, AI picks up on it right away, whether you do it through the phone, email, text, or chat. You text, hey, my toilet's backed up. Boom, up will come a thing. What do you think it is? Was it something that was in the toilet? Is it something that has occurred before or whatever? It'll be like 4 or 5, and you just check the box. It's this. And now what happens is the AI picks that up. The AI notifies our people that we have on retainer who fix the apartments. And we have an SLA. You got to be there in 30 minutes. Unless the customer says, look, I'm going out, but have them come back anytime after 5 or 7 or whatever. Okay. But they say I need it as soon as possible. It's done within 30 minutes. And we say on top of that, and we measure the SLA. And the AI is amazing with that. They'll say, when you get to the apartment, send me your text. And then the AI checks it with the GPS. It says, no, are you there? Because they could send them a text. They could be 10 miles away. But the AI says, wait a minute, you're not at the apartment. You're at this other place. And as soon as that gets it, we fire those people immediately. They're gone. So the idea is the control factor here on these kinds of maintenance issues. And communication happens in real time all the time. Hey, there's a problem down the hall, or there's some people hanging outside I don't like. They look like they're hooligans or whatever. Immediate response. AI comes in, says, okay, what is it? Tell me all about it. Okay, we'll take care of it. They contact, let's say, in this case, security, get down there right away. And security goes. And so there's never like a day waiting or 2 days waiting. And then our maintenance is the same way. Our AI really handles all the maintenance. So what we do is we integrate the AI into the process. So there's non-emergency maintenance and there's emergency maintenance, right? So non-emergency maintenance is, okay, I've got 30 units that I need painting. Okay, so as soon as that gets in our system, goes over to maintenance, then of maintenance, it's going to be maintenance, it's going to be painting, and it's these 30 apartments. Okay, our AI picks that up right away. They bring it in. They say, okay, let's go get the specs for each of those apartments, put that together. They create an RFP, a request for proposal. They send that out to the painters who are on our database. We have a whole different platform where we have all the tradespeople on the platform already. We have vetted them. We have looked at all their references. We've checked their work. We've got their licenses, and we have their pricing sheets and their discounts. Everything all right there. So then we go out to the painters, let's say the 3 painters that are really good at this particular kind of work or whatever, and they then come back with their proposal. The AI will analyze those, of course, then send them over to the manager or the owner who has to really make the final selection.
Right.
The selection says, here's the one I want to use. The AI then puts together a smart contract. That RFP then turns into a smart contract along with the entire contract administration process and the payment structure, sends that out to the chosen painter. They sign that, they bring it back in. The AI then puts that into the system, sets up the contract administration in terms of timing, when it's going to start, all of the approval milestones along the way that are geared then towards payment, then also takes money out of one account, puts it into the other painting maintenance account for this job, and then we'll proceed to see when the work is done, have a property manager approve the work, and as soon as the approval comes in, they pay the vendor immediately, bank to bank. And how we do it is that money goes into an account before we won't begin the job until the money is in the account and goes into the other account, because one of the biggest things about vendors like this, tradespeople and apartment owners, is they don't get paid. We're going to get top-notch tradespeople at really good discounts who commit top-notch work. They're going to get paid right on time.
That's important.
And that's part of it, because say, look, when we do a contract, maintenance contract, that money has to be taken. It's to be taken out of the main account and put into this special maintenance account. That has to happen because it's our name. It's his name. We're guaranteeing it across many clients. So for instance, let's say we're in the Chicago area. We could have 1,000 customers, 1,000 clients in the Chicago area that all have 20, 30, 40 buildings in the Chicago area. So our painters, our electricians are across all of those. We can keep them busy all the time. Now, our clients use the software and determine what needs maintenance and all of that, but that all funnels up to the same AI capability where we can see this painter's already booked for all of these jobs. We need another painter. Yeah. We've got their schedules. So we can manage the entire maintenance operation, and we can eliminate 50% of the costs. Our whole goal at the end of this, from A to Z, is increasing our clients' net operating income by 20% or more and reducing the time to rent by 65%.
Phenomenal. It's mind-blowing. I can see how one could do that for sure by eliminating downtime of vacant units or saving on maintenance costs with almost like pre-negotiated contracts and things like that, but just you've described.
Where all this comes from is over 20 years of renting apartments.
Right.
And being the #1 apartment renter in the greater Boston area through my 2 co-founders.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Oh, they've done since up until 2022, from 2003 to 2022, they've had over 33,000 transactions. They have created $1.58 billion, $1.6 billion of leases.
Incredible. Yeah.
during that time. And doing that, they learned every step of this and started to apply technology as best they could at the time that they were dealing with it. What happened over a 20, they said, look, we've learned all of these things, and here's where things go wrong. But what they didn't have was AI in a certain process. But now AI comes along, AI can transforms this whole thing into an amazing process. Now, the thing is, you have to understand, we're not software, we're agentic AI. Everything that's accomplished here is accomplished through agents. Agents are the software because agents can think, so-called think. They don't think, but it's like thinking. They
Yeah.
reason and think. They can take an action, and then they can learn from that action through other means of how to do that better. That's the whole idea about AI. So not only can we have swarms of agents working together to provide all of these services and all of these capabilities, but then they will learn over time how to do it better than what we even designed it to be.
So
It's called multi-agent reinforcement learning.
that's awesome.
It is.
This is less about the platform itself, but more, I think that a lot of founders, in my experience in meeting other founders, they typically are a young person that has this idea of a process that needs to be changed or fixed or can be done better. And then they go out and try and product market fit, test it, and have a bunch of, I'll say, pivots, or when they figure out that the idea didn't work or
Right.
there wasn't as big of a need as that. So I guess,
It's where the applesauce that they created that doesn't taste so good became a great paint thinner.
so I guess my question is, you've got a rich background and experience, what are the advantages of being a founder with your background? And then conversely, what do you think are the disadvantages to that?
I think one of the advantages I have is I have my two co-founders. And now I have real estate experience, but more from an investment banking side.
Yeah. Transactional.
Right. But I
Yeah.
understand net operating.
Right.
Even though they were doing rentals, they never thought about the net operating income aspect of it. They were thinking more transactional, more how we're going to save a step here and time here, which was all good.
Yeah.
But they also didn't have any understanding of how AI would work for it. So the advantage for me was coming into a situation where I had knowledge of, I know multifamily, I know how it works. I've sold lots of multifamily, bought multifamily for clients. So I understood the business from P&L and a balance sheet point of view. And I understood what makes up net operating income. And what I did, I was able to apply that to their transactional process and say, this whole thing, and they were focused on actually selling it to real estate agents and brokers. And that is
Okay.
not the market. There's only 10 in the country that are in the rental business. Every other real estate brokerage is involved in sales. Now, I've interviewed 50 of them. When I first came on, I had to do that to prove to my co-founders that this is not the market. I thought, okay, this is the market. Now, when I went out and I'm talking to people, I
You
had
kept hitting closed doors.
I had two questions. I said, okay, so here we are talking. You're like the fifth largest real estate brokerage firm in the New York City area. And so tell me what percentage of the last 12 months or last year or the trailing 12 months came from sales, commissions versus rentals. And they said, okay, probably 70% came from sales and 30% came from rentals. So my next question is, so you are in the rental business, right? No, we're not in the rental business. We're in the sales business. but 30% of your revenue just came from rentals. Yes, that may be true, but we're not in that business. That's a function of sales.
Right.
And so many different ways this was explained to me. Some have relationship with people that say, look, I got 3 properties I'm going to sell. I don't want to sell them now. I'll sell them next year. But I got 2 buildings that I need you to work on. I get those vacancies. I got 30 vacancies. I want to get that completed. So if you'll do that, I'll give you these. And so many other ways this happens. Or the rental happens to be $25,000 a month rental, where the commission is the equivalent of selling a $500,000 plus home. So I quickly learned they're not the market. But who is the market are property owners and property managers. And my co-founder said, yeah, it's going to be the mom and pops, the guys who own 4 units to 10 units. That's going to be perfect for Pagea. No. Pagea's solution is so robust that beginning to end, you have to have 2 things in order for it to work for you. First, you have to have complexity of operations. Where does that begin? Complexity of operations doesn't start until you have 200 units. And then you have to have technology deficit. Now, technology deficit doesn't mean you don't have technology. It means you have technology, but you might have 4 or 5 or 6 different applications and they don't talk to each other and you're trying to deal. All of a sudden, one of them does an upgrade for
Right. And it breaks everything else.
Else works like RealPage. Every time RealPage does an upgrade, and they do several in a year,
Yeah.
companies, other stuff does not work with it. They have to bring in or have to have software people on staff to go.
Well, they have to pay RealPage consulting fees to fix what they just broke.
Now I got to pay RealPage consulting fees to come in. And so when you think about this, we realize that starts at about 200 units. And then when you go to the high end, over 20,000 units, that's where you have companies that have spent millions and millions of dollars in proprietary technology, and they often have their own full IT departments. And that group, even if we were 10 times better,
they're not going to change.
They're not going to change. That's what I mean. If they're 10 times better. Or if they did, it's going to take us 2 years to make that sale.
And you're not necessarily any closer at day 600 as you are at day 1.
That's right. That's right. That's really not a market. And the smaller groups are not a market. Which our sweet spot is the 200 to 20,000 units. And in that, we can provide real value. Now, what we're going to do is once we've got that handled for the mass market from maybe 50 units up to 200 units or whatever, we will have packages of agents that are specific to their level of operation. They can rent in packages. Like you can have, okay, let me have the rent collection eviction package. So collect all the rents, follow up. If anybody hasn't paid, send them nice letters. We'll also do the whole eviction. We have a whole eviction process where we'll even file the documents in the court where we don't need attorneys because we can do all of that pro se. The only time we need an attorney is when they actually have to go to court. And if we have, let's say, 20 eviction processes, only one of those 20 will ever go to court. The other 19 all get settled.
Right.
From the time you start, just people are late, they just got behind, and then they come up with the money to pay. So when you think what they do today, they pay $1,000 per person right off the bat for the attorney to file the paper. That's crazy. The filing is simple. It's 2 pages and the documents and the lease document and basically what happened. So we can do all that. And so that'd be a rent collection package. So yeah, I want to rent this. That might cost them $200 a month to do it for all of their apartments. And then we have maybe the marketing, the outbound marketing package and the inbound marketing, but it'll be right sized for their operation. And they can click it in no matter what software they're using. The agents will click in and use that software with that data to be able to do the job.
I'm curious because we're in the midst of it now. How has your fundraising operation been, or have you been self-funded the whole time?
No, we've raised money. We've put money in. The all total, we've put in probably 5, 6, 7, maybe 700,000, eight hundred
Hmm.
thousand
Yeah.
between the founders. But other than that, we've also raised 1.5 million, actually 1,550,000 from outside investors. Okay.
So was that your seed round that you did that on?
I would call it our pre-seed because we're
Okay.
now in our seed round for 3.7 million.
Okay. What sort of
And
value or value cap are you
we're looking to
on that?
do the pre-money at 15 million right now,
Okay.
with post money at 18,700,000.
So that's like a 20% discount,
Yeah, it's
essentially.
about 20%. Yeah. It's about 20% of the company. Yeah.
Phenomenal. Yeah, my world the past couple of months has been finding a lead investor.
Okay.
So I'm right there in it with you.
Yeah. I was in investment banking for 46 years. So again, but I was in the middle market, which is very different than
Yeah.
startups. And so it took me a while to adjust
Yeah.
because, you're pre-revenue, you're pre-product. How do you wrap your arms around that in terms of one, even presenting it and getting
Yeah.
the right market? Again, product market fit. That's what we went through quite a bit to get to who we really create value for and how we do that. And it's been a real creative journey, but we've had to pivot several times, not necessarily pivot to something different,
Yeah.
but pivot like in a different way of doing what we wanted to do. And then as the CEO, I think the biggest thing I bring to the table is the ability to build an effective team.
Hmm.
And that's something that I've learned over a lifetime with
Yeah. I'm sure
companies
your
that,
years have informed that.
oh, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, I forget who said this. It might have been Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger, one or the other. How they put it is a top-notch management team can take a mediocre idea and be successful. A mediocre management team can take a top-notch idea and destroy value.
Yeah, that's true.
So you got to look at the end of the day, it's the people.
Yeah, I learned this. I think you and I are similar in that we both came from the deal world and then
Right.
happened to land in startup land, the
Right.
startup world. And what I found is that you live and die by your management. And that's why I think what you're doing is so interesting because there's two things you can't overcome. You can't overcome a bad buy, and I guess you can overcome bad management, but it's still going to take you a while to recover because there's reputation damage from the tenants in the market that are like, oh, that property's terrible. I'm not going to go look at that. So you almost have to go through like a rebrand.
That's right. That's right. It's just like in the corporate world, a turnaround.
Yeah.
You have to do a turnaround operation on
Yeah.
that property. And a lot of property owners, managers do not have any concept of what that is.
No.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you filled up a building without tenant quality metrics and you've got problems, you got to empty your building.
Yeah.
You got to empty it. You're out. We don't care. We're going to redo it. We're going to rebrand it. Yes, we're going to go through pain. We're going to lose money. But now we're going to have our tenant quality metrics in place, but we're going to offer something. And that's the other thing that Pagea does. We offer a 5-star concierge tenant portal service. And that's part of our offering. So when you get our system, that will be there for you to get for your tenants. Most owners and managers don't think like that. They see, because they're more meat and potatoes. They're more at the level of, how would I call it, the transaction and the basic nuts and bolts of the business, but they don't think about the business as an experience. Every tenant judges you on their experience.
Yeah. And they'll either rave about you to their friends and family, or actually they might not even say anything. If they say anything, they're going to be like, yeah, it's great, they've got all these things. But if it's terrible, they're going to tell anyone and everyone.
That's it. The way you know you're doing a good job is when they don't say anything.
Hey.
And when you ask them, would you consider moving from here? And then they'll say, are you kidding me? I live like in a 5-star hotel.
Yeah.
I have 5-star hotel services.
Yeah.
I want a dog walker. I get a dog walker in a matter of 30 minutes. I need any kind of delivery service. It's here within 2 hours, whatever I need. It's going to be the owner's reputation coming through Pageo.
The question is, are you targeting a certain segment of properties, or are you looking at everything A through C?
We're looking at every through A through C in the beginning, because it is all about bringing the value chain together.
Yeah.
But now there's a whole nother level to this of where we refine that to specific properties that are more in tune, let's call it, with really having a great experience.
Yeah.
And when they have a value around, that's where our, so let's call it, tenant portal plus comes in. Okay. Because there are, like, we have a beta partner in Arkansas.
Okay.
Has 620 units. Okay. They're the last ones that are going to want a concierge tenant service. They're going to want a nice tenant portal where tenants are satisfied, but their level is at such a level in the area that they're in. There's no other level. It's this base level, and they wouldn't know what to do with those services.
It's basic lower class A affordable housing.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's a different story. But we can get tremendous efficiencies in everything we do in that. Because here's the thing.
Yeah.
He has 8 property managers, over 620 properties that are in a really, I mean, relative to the way we see it, a very limited zone in Arkansas. Okay. From Little Rock up, from Little Rock down, those 620 units, he has 8 property managers. And when we spoke to him last, he said, yeah, now I'm going to be hiring a manager of property managers. So now I got
a district manager,
and I've had to hire a manager of the 8 property managers because of how, let's say, time consuming and difficult it's become for him.
Yeah.
Okay. And what we said is, this is exactly the problem we solve. We are going to take your 8. First, we're going to eliminate your property manager. We'll eliminate that. And we'll reduce the 8 down to 4. And it's a matter of the rent collection process, the eviction process, and the upfront rental process. Takes him 2 months to 3 months to rent a property. And he's got 34 vacancies. And so what we've learned is property managers don't rent properties. They really don't. You want to rent a property, you need a leasing agent.
Yeah.
Knows how to do that. That's their business. They get it. But at a certain level, you don't even need a leasing agent. What you need is a very solid process that will move them along on a digital basis.
Yeah.
And that's what we come in and do. So if we can eliminate that down to 10 days, from 2 to 3 months down to 10 days to rent a property. And here's the other thing, our AIs run algorithms constantly on the lost opportunity in financial terms versus the amount of rent on a 12-month basis
Oh, so it's smart rents. Yeah.
and measures exactly. We'll give you a discount of $82.75 if you sign today for the next 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know that's the number that we can give you and we can still make our profit.
To make it work. And then once you're in, people tend not to want to move
And as
unless
long
they
as you
have
make
to.
the experience, as long as it's always clean, and that's the other thing, our AI manages that like crazy because we have Internet of Things, and that also means surveillance. We have cameras everywhere. The moment something is out of whack, the AI says, hey, you've got to go get that. There's garbage in the hallway. Get that out of the hallway. And alert goes out to whoever's supposed to move that. And whether it's someone on retainer or it's a property manager, it'll probably go to both. And then all that gets measured. Here's the other thing. All the performance gets measured in real time. So anybody running the company can say, this isn't really good. This metric is not good. We're not doing whatever this particular thing is within the time frame it should be done.
So how have you set up your pricing? It's a SaaS-based model, right?
It's a subscription model.
Yeah.
And what we learned from one of our beta partners to 6,000 units in the greater Boston area, they spent over $1 million with RealPage last year.
Yeah.
$1 million. When we sat down with them and said, what did they do? Let's look at all the stuff they did and what you paid $1 million for. We said, when we have our platform developed, we could do all of this better and do more for 12% of what you paid. $120,000 a year, $10,000 a month.
Sign me up. That's the deal.
What they did is they said, okay, we're not only going to be your beta partner and we're going to use your service, we're investing in you now. So they came in as investors. Yeah.
That's great.
And they're getting us other investors. They said, we want this as soon as possible. What do you need? $3.7 million. Okay, here's $500,000 from us. Well, let's talk next Friday. We'll have another $1 million for you. They become our bankers.
I love that.
They want the product. And when I take them through it, just like we're talking today, we would say, okay, what about in this area? Let's look at what you're doing. What did you pay for? What did you get? Now, our AI listing generator can do this all day long. Get it out there. How many people do you have doing that work? How does RealPage doesn't do that? I said, no, RealPage, we have to do all that. RealPage will contain the data, but it doesn't do anything. We have to have person go in and put the photos together with the description and write the description and then put that in the XML file or in the API or whatever, and then get it connected up to realtor.com or apartments.com. We've got to handle that. That's our business. All they do is give us a CRM. You call and I'm on the phone with you and you got me, which probably doesn't happen for 3 days. When you you got my voicemail. And of course, I didn't call you back for at least 3 days because I'm busy. Oh, yeah. I got to call this guy back. Okay. And I call you back. Then I put into the CRM, hey, I called Stash back. Yeah.
We're looking at a property and we're driving the neighborhood of competing properties in the neighborhood and looked at one and it was in good shape. And so called the leasing number and it was an answering machine that said, if you want to lease an apartment, do not leave a message to go to our website. Yeah.
And our website is www.rp-xlb74321. Goodbyes always.
Click. Yeah.
Go to our website. Are you kidding me?
Silly.
You know what I mean, this is the insanity of property management.
It's a thankless task, especially what they want, or they want maintenance and or service, or not to pay rent or what have you. And then you have
clean hallways. They want the right level of heat if they're not paying for the heat. They want the right level of air conditioning. And they want basically all of their facilities.
They want a clean, safe place to live where people respond to maintenance requests. Yeah. If you're not delivering that, why should I pay you? And
exactly.
And then you have owners on the other side. If you're doing it for a third party.
That's right.
They want their check.
Well, owners are like, let's look at our NOI. Let's go back up. Let's look at all of the details of revenue in and profit out. Everything in between. Wait a minute. Why are you spending so much money on the maintenance issue?
Exactly.
I could do that for half of that.
And to try and make a margin.
Your revenue, how many units do you have? How many units are vacant right now? That's the pressure on the owner. That's right. And that's where we solve this for all of these management firms. Well, not only that, we can have a management firm be so competitive because the owner will give the owner what we call the 360-degree view, the all-seeing eye. So they don't even have to call in or anything like that. They just go on their computer. They see everything right there in real time.
Yeah. And that makes sense. And that's the way it should be.
And if they have a question about it, they can give them a question, and that answer, AI will pick it up and get the answer immediately and get it back to them. No humans in between. See, that's the difference. AI is going to be handling communications. Now, if a human has to step in the link, the AI is going to be prodding you like no tomorrow.
Yeah. Riding shotgun if a human.
That's right. It's going to give you an email. It's going to be, hey, Stash, I know it might be late, but we really got to get back to Jones on that XYZ matter, like before we go to sleep.
Yeah.
And you say, wait a minute, you don't go to sleep.
Yeah.
I wanted to make you feel good.
So what does the roadmap, or what's the end goal? Is it to acquire? Is it to have a liquidity event? What are you aiming for?
So our goal is to grow over the next 3 years to about 2,500 customers who are paying us on average somewhere between $5,000 a month and $10,000 a month. Okay. So let's just say it's $10,000 a month, right? So that's $25 million of monthly recurring revenue. That's $300 million a year of annual recurring revenue. And since our margins are over 70%, we can use the SaaS Capital Index model for valuation. Today, that's 6.6.
6.6 of top end of the ARR?
Yeah, of ARR. So we would be worth like almost $2 billion.
I love that for you.
And at that point in time, we're going to go public on NASDAQ, but to set a floor price. And at the same time, I believe we'll be bought by CoStar or Zillow. That's the exit plan. CoStar, this is their way to win the residential side of commercial over Zillow. Not in the home buying, home selling, but they'll win it in the renting side. The future, more people will be renting than owning by a huge margin over the next 5 or 10 years. And by the way, we also include single family homes for rental, like on the large scale, Invitation Homes and basically everybody who's owned by BlackRock. They all have different names, but they're all financed by BlackRock. So those homes are being built to rent, never to sell.
Yeah, built to rent.
Built to rent. Different whole model.
Yeah.
So if somebody has 200 single family homes for rent, they're a perfect customer for us.
Do you see rolling up a PMS system or other complementary platform?
No, we're an ERP platform plus PMS plus marketing plus CRM. We're the entire thing. So I don't see us rolling up anything. We see ourselves displacing them.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because RealPage and the others, they don't have even the beginning of what we're doing in AI on their roadmap until 2028.
They're behind.
They say when they're going to do it, when they're going to do it, how they're going to do it.
Is it because they're public?
Yeah, I mean, they have that. It's for their investors. It's for their, how are you going to get there? See, you understand, they are fat, lazy, and happy because they can gouge the market.
Yeah.
Because they're the only ones. And the other thing is they own the data. It's your data, but they own it. Okay.
Just like CoStar.
Right. Before you brought them in, it was all your data. You could go get it. You could do whatever you wanted with it. Once you got them in your system, your data became their data. And if you want it, you have to go to them to get it. You can't even get a balance sheet until you go to them because they took all of your accounting numbers and then they locked them in encoded numbers, which you can't get to now. That's what they do. So you have account 1200. And I got that in my CRM. I got that in my system. But when you go to account 1200, they've taken that and they've masked that into their code of Q1477. You can't get the Q1477 unless you go to them and they unlock it, or they give you you go through them to get it. And of course, then you get charged. Every time you use your data, you get charged. Now, with us, we're going to do this whole stack. It's all your data. You can do whatever you want with it. You can access it anytime, day or night. You can give it to anybody. It's your data. We're there to be your partner to increase your NOI by 20% or more. We're not going to lock up your data. That's not our business.
Yeah. Well, this is awesome, man. John, this has been a fascinating conversation.
Thank you.
I guess if somebody's interested, if they've got that minimum 200 units and operational complexity, what's the best way to, and they're interested in exploring your solution, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
To get me at jr@padgia.com. So that's P as in Peter, A as in Apple, D as in David, G as in George, E as in Edward, A as in Apple.com. And also call me anytime. I'm 424-202-2414. And then I'm also on LinkedIn, John A. Reilly, MBA, and you'll see me there. You'll see Padgia. And then we have our website, which right now is a little bit behind because we don't want to put all our secrets
Sure.
on our website. But anyway, that'll give you a good idea of the team and other facts. And that's at www.padgia.com.
Awesome. This has been, like I said, phenomenal. I'm going to follow up with you on some things after this, but I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stash. I appreciate the opportunity and the time.
All right. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye
All
now.
right. Bye.
That's it for the Stashcast. Subscribe, share, and stay ahead in commercial real estate and PropTech. See you next time.